The bill that was the biggest labor of love for me was the granting of automatic in-state tuition to honorably discharged veterans, which we worked closely with ASA in order to get that passed and signed into law just this past session. Advancing the veterans issues on campus had been one of ASA's prime issues these past years. So very early on in the session, we sat down with Dave Martinez, and we talked about how we could work together, and it was very fortuitous that we had sort of the same issues to work at the forefront. So as we were working these issues through the House, we were able to get lobbying help with the other members in this chamber as well as the Senate. We were also able to have a lot of the students from NAU, ASU, and U of A. They did a day at the Capitol where they came up and helped lobby for that issue in particular, which was also very, very effective. I think it's always very effective to hear what the desires of the end user of any sort of government program, whether it's government school or public school, public education, to hear what the end users think about something, and when they come up and they advocate for an issue, it's much more impactful to members of the legislature.
Well, one of the key priorities is try to get back to our Constitution, which talks about that our education and our universities in particular should be as nearly free as possible. And given the costs of education, how that has been out of reach of far too many Arizonans now because of the constant increases in tuition and fees, I think we've got to get a much better handle on it. So I want to be able to support our universities so that they do not have to chase people away who are qualified and deserve to have a better education so that they can contribute to our economy in the future. So that means full support for our universities. It means full support so we don't have to charge so much. It means respecting our universities and respecting our students as the future of our state, and understanding that a healthy university system is the cornerstone of a healthy economy. The students that come up here are so well trained, they know how to talk, they've got their points, and they really cut through the clutter that tends to pile up around here. So ASA and the students that come up on their behalf have been invaluable. People who don't have a voice at the Capitol tend to get cut. That's the way it works. If you're not playing here at the Capitol, you get forgotten about because there's so many other people here who are playing at the Capitol. This is our democracy. This is where we're making the decisions. ASA really does represent the students of our university system. So their legitimacy itself is really important.
You all share your perspectives from different campuses, and so there are things that affect those campuses differently. Obviously, they are very different campuses, very different schools, and to hear how each of those students is impacted by certain legislation is important because they influenced one of my votes, actually, because I was pretty set on voting against the bill, and then after talking to them, it made me realize that they had some really valid points, and I evaluated the situation a lot further, looked into a lot more, and I ended up changing my vote, and it was in their favor. So they definitely have an impact, as does any constituent that comes down here. Be passionate, but have an open mind and be willing to discuss those issues. And don't be afraid to change your opinion on something too, because I have done it. They've changed my opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. You educate me, I'll educate you, and that's really what this is all about.
There are significant issues facing higher education, many of which pertain to access and affordability. And I think those are key areas that we will always deal with, but we need to focus on them more than ever now, because families at all sectors are dealing with financial crunch. And so if we are able to elect individuals who have that as a priority, I think that that's very important so that they can carry that message and become an advocate here at the legislature to be able to vote on issues and protect budgets and make sure that we are carefully considering every student. This year, ASA members were in the elevators, and we would talk in between hearings, as well as before pieces of legislation went forward to the floor or in caucus settings, and I appreciated that work. I really felt it was very significant for ASA to be able to state what their advocacy was on particular bills that affected students and universities. And without those conversations, I think that members, they get lost in so many issues and so many bills that we read. That voice was important, and I felt that it was necessary for us to have those continued conversations, and I felt my door was always open to them whenever that issue or any other issues came up. ASA is important because you have a unified voice where you're stating the concerns that are coming up before bills. You have an organized group of individuals who are able to come forward and present their testimony in committee hearings. And it's through an organized organization where you don't have different people saying different things and then it confuses the situation. I think when you have one group, such as ASA, they are able to, behind their scenes, organize what that testimony is so that you can present that in a professional manner to legislators who have very little time, really to hear about what those issues are and how you can be supportive of a bill or, really caution against other bills that are moving forward. And so that voice was heard with ASA, and it is appreciated, and I think they will continue to be a viable force here at the legislature as they continue forward.
My one-on-one conversations with ASA are great, and also the job they do in committee when they come down and testify, especially this year in the budget hearings and the appropriations committee, did a great job of coming down here and making sure the legislators heard about the true impacts that the budget decisions were going to have on the lives of students. Come down here and interact with the legislators early on. Try to meet with them before session starts. Don't wait until session starts, because by then it may be too late. Get in front of the legislators, tell them your concerns, tell them what you would like to see done, how you would like to see higher education handled in this state, and really start that dialogue early and continue having that dialogue often.
Unfortunately, largely the way that government works is it's a matter of greasing the squeaky wheel, and if issues are not brought up, if they're not represented, then my concern is they go unnoticed and ignored. The reason your association has value is that everyone ought to have a voice in government, and your organization gives students a voice and gives them an opportunity to be connected with their elected officials. Always be prepared to change your mind. I think that we need less politics and more practical solutions. If we work together, whether it's Republicans, Democrats, whether it be on one side of an issue or another, we ought to come ready to discuss issues, discuss solutions, and look to create real reform and not just political propaganda.
The primary issue that I see facing our community, and that is making sure that we have an educated workforce that is properly trained and ready to work in new 21st century jobs, and in some cases jobs that we don't even know exist today. We need to make sure that students that want to receive a higher education have the opportunity to do so. So to have an organized student voice is, I think, important to the process, because if you need information quickly, you know that you have somebody that you can go to and ask that question because they are representing a large population of students. To ask the thousands and thousands of students a question at 9 o'clock in the morning on something that may be coming up in the next 24 hours is almost impossible unless the student voice is organized through some sort of an organization.
The economic crisis we're having, I think that's going to be a continuing problem for our universities is the budget. So I think the student voice is critically important to keeping us grounded, that we have your perspective of what you need as opposed to us thinking we know what you need. I would say be prepared with your message and make it a consistent message when you come down.
One of the most important issues that I have worked with over my 15 years here is that when you attend a community college, that all of your time and money that you put into classes there, that those would be transferable.
I would say as we move forward, trying to make sure that we find that a university degree is still affordable, and that it's not just affordable if you're the wealthy or the poor, but it's affordable for the folks in the middle. Everybody should be able to go. We've gotten to know most of them. You guys are hard to avoid if you haven't noticed that. Usually when you call and somebody says, "No, we're too busy," you usually don't take that for an answer. So your presence here is crucial. Instead of just saying, "Don't raise our taxes on us," because that's what the tuition increase is for you. They're raising your taxes to go get an education. So lawmakers have a short shelf life here too. So I think without you, as we lose some continuity in the process. And I think that's important that we hear from the students and this association in particular, because you have this continuity from year to year where your history has gone. It's really helpful. Get out there in front of it sometimes. You don't need the legislature to wait for us to say, hey, we need to fix something. If it comes from you, you're just as big a constituency group as there is out there. When you start totaling up students and their parents, they're all focused on, what does this mean to us? So